other award that we're dealing with today is the Prometheus Hall of Fame Award. The winner of the winning work for that award is Harrison Bergeron by a short story by Kurt Vonnegut. Now, Vonnegut, as you know, died in 2007. He was born in Indianapolis, Indiana. And the Vonnegut Library and Museum is located in Indianapolis, and they have sent these remarks. The Kurt Vonnegut Museum and Library in Indianapolis, Indiana is thrilled to receive news that the short story Harrison Bergeron is being recognized by the Libertarian Future Society with the Prometheus Hall of Fame Award. The story, like much of Kurt's other writings, seems a perfect fit for LFS, who identify as libertarians and free-loving science fiction fans who believe cultural change is as vital as political change in achieving freedom. Kurt's principles in keeping with LFS standards include passionate promotion of the necessity for free expression in the world. In fact, in 1973, in the very month of Kurt's birth, November, the school district of Drake, North Dakota, controversially burned 32 copies of Slaughterhouse-Five in the school furnace. Kurt responded passionately in a letter that was later published in the very first chapter of his nonfiction collection, Palm Sunday, appropriately titled The First Amendment. Among other sentiments in the letter, Kurt stressed, certain members of your community have suggested that my work is evil. This is extraordinarily insulting to me. The news from Drake indicates to me that books and writers are very unreal to you people. I'm writing this letter to let you know how real I am. The work recognized for this year's award, Harrison Bergeron, is one of the most widely taught texts in schools around the country. It is often featured during the Kurt Vonnegut Museum and Library's annual workshop for freedom of expression and common decency. And the teachers bring this to their own classrooms, seemingly contradictory to the sentiment expressed at the beginning of the acceptance of Kurt's writing, a perfect fit for LFS. It might be noted that he was not very fond of being known as a science fiction writer. In fact, in his book, Wampeters, Forma, and Grandfolians, he rather succinctly noted, I've been a sore-headed occupant of a file drawer labeled science fiction, and I would like out, particularly since so many serious critics routinely mistake the drawer for a urinal. This might sound like a man who did not appreciate science fiction as a genre. However, in the last of his books he published in his lifetime, Man Without a Country, he expounded by writing, I became a so-called science fiction writer when someone decreed that I was a science fiction writer. I did not want to be classified as one. So I wondered in what way I'd offended that I would not get credit for being a serious author. I decided that was because I wrote about technology and most fine American writers knew nothing about technology. I've got classified as a science fiction writer simply because I wrote about Schenectady, New York. My first book, Player Piano, was about Schenectady. There are huge factors in Schenectady and nothing else. I and my associates were engineers, physicists, chemists, and mathematicians. And when I wrote about the General Electric Company and Schenectady, it seemed a fantasy of the future to critics who had never seen the place. Above all, Kurt wanted to be recognized not for the genre he wrote in, but for the importance and humanity of his words and themes. It is the honor of the Kurt Vonnegut Museum and Library, therefore, to thank the Libertarian Future Society for recognizing the importance and humanity of the words and themes of our Hoosier son, Kurt Vonnegut, with the 2019 Prometheus Hall of Fame Award. If Kurt were here today, perhaps he would use his favorite expression taught to him by his uncle Alex. If this isn't nice, I don't know what is. Those remarks from the Vonnegut Museum and Library. The award plaque will go and be housed in the in the library, and just to let you know, they are in the process of moving into a new building, which should be opened up sometime either later this year or sometime next year, and then you can go to if you're in Indianapolis, Indiana, you can visit the museum there. For those of you not familiar with the story Harrison Bergeron, it involves a family, the George the father, Hazel the mother, and Harrison the son. And in this society, everyone is, the goal is to have everyone be equal. The way they achieve the equality is to put various devices on people. In the case of George the father, he wears a band that periodically puts a loud noise in his head so he cannot concentrate for a long time. Hazel, the mother, is perfectly normal, so she has no buzzing headpiece. She does not have to carry extra weights around her body, and she does not have other impediments. Harrison, on the other hand, is very intelligent, so he has an extra, he not only has the headpiece, but he actual earphones to cover his ears. He has glasses which have deliberately distorted lenses to give him headaches and make things a little bit blurry, and he must carry around massive amounts of weight to impede his physical agility. This is the context in which the story is set. Harrison has been kidnapped or taken, shall we say, by the handicapper general troops to because he's he still, these handicaps are not handicapping him enough. The story is one in which you have you start sympathizing with Harrison because he's taking away. You also sympathize with the mother and the father because of they soon forget that their son has been taken from them. They're shown watching TV, and even then they're having a hard time following the narrative on the TV. The show that they are watching as the scene unfolds is one of a ballet performance with musicians. The musicians, of course, are handicapped, so they cannot play as well. The ballerinas are carrying extra weight, so they cannot perform as well. Harrison escapes from his captivity, comes in, throws off his shackles, the weights, the glasses, the big rubber nose that he has to wear to make him look unattractive, and shows that he is a very handsome person, that he can dance, and he invites one of the ballerinas to throw off her shackles, and the magicians to throw off theirs, and they perform brilliantly until the handicapper general comes in and shoots him. That is the story in a nutshell. With that background, then in giving the context of the story, let me read from what the Kurt Vonnegut, the family, wrote a very short piece that reflects on this theme of enforced mediocrity and tries to make a poignant and humorous point about this story. And this is from the family. It says, without wanting to make anyone else feel bad about having written or published less good stories, and without wishing to appear vain or in any way showy, we are moderately proud of the story, what it means to others, and this award. Sincerely, the Vonnegut children and cousins and their children and cousins. I particularly like that point because they have it not only as an acceptance of the award, but it does reference some of the themes brought up in the Harrison Bergeron story. I will point out, as a point of clarification, you can read the story online in several places. There are also at least 3 different video versions. 2 of them have Harrison Bergeron as the title. Another one has the year at which it takes place, 2081, as the title. They, to various degrees, match the arc of the story, And so my comments are about the actual text of the story. The award is for the published short story, not the videos. I'm not disparaging the videos. I'm just saying, you need to separate them so you do not get the themes mixed up. In fact, I deliberately did not review the videos before coming here, so I would not have them in mind and inadvertently misrepresent the story. A couple of the major themes in the story is about human agency, about being able to strive and achieve to fulfill your goals. Those are things which we tend to think are components of a society in which we would want to live in. This society portrayed by Vonnegut has those things being damped down in the issue with the emphasis on making everyone equal, and they're having a reference to various amendments to the Constitution. Implicit in the story that it does take place in the USA, what is not covered, and which would be an interesting piece of the story, is to look at how much of this is actually a sort of a hegemonic around the world environment, and how much of it is unique to one country. One critical point I would make about the story is that I read it 3 times. It was only on the 3rd reading that the point came to me where Harrison actually he starts to project his own authoritarianism right after he has thrown off his nose and thrown off his shackles. He makes a comment about, let me see if I can get the quote exactly right. I'll just do it from memory. He says, I am the new emperor, you must follow me. And to me, the implication is that by being in this authoritarian environment, he has, even though he's overthrowing that impact on himself, he has also internalized that authoritarianism, because he's saying, I'm the new emperor, I'm the new ruler, you must follow me. And he is, to me, that is an indictment not only of the authoritarianism of that regime on the individuals, it causes that people to accept that authoritarianism in their dealings with others. So I would highly recommend people read this work and reflect on what it means both for our current society, and also if you're thinking about developing, for those of you who are writers, if you're developing future societies, what in a less shall we say, explicit way, but more of an implicit way, how do you deal with questions of equality, enforced egalitarianism, and also then the reflection of agency and personal agency in your society, since in many societies those have changed quite a bit. So that is the remarks that we have about the Harrison Bergeron. I believe we have until 11:20, so we have about 10 minutes for questions on either work. So do we have any questions from the audience?
I can also throw in a quick plug for the Libertarian Futurist Society generally. Our website is lfs.org. I encourage everyone to look at it when you're back at home. I've really enjoyed being a member of the society and participating in some of these world cons. And if libertarianism and science fiction are interesting to you, it's an excellent organization.
Any other question? Yeah.
Okay. So obviously Harrison Bergeron has a lot of exaggeration for the drama, but how much of the story is actually realistic today?
Yeah, actually, that is interesting, because if you think about it, we have a way of distracting ourselves that we carry around in our pocket. If you take a Bluetooth-enabled earphones, you link it to your smartphone. If we allow the the authoritarians, to start controlling what can go over your smartphone. They can be sending you anything they want right into your Bluetooth enabled earpiece. So people who talk about we need to have the government having a greater input into what goes on over the internet or over the cell system or any kind of social media, be careful what you wish for. You just may get it. Now it is interesting the other things that are given, the big bulbous red nose, the heavy metal that Harrison has to wear to slow him down, the wavy glasses that give him headaches and distort his vision. Those are all technologies that existed in 1962 when this book, when the short story was put out. So we are very close to having that capability. Even the handicapper general who her name is Glompers, when she shoots, hopefully this is not too much of a spoiler because the story's been out for many years. When she shoots and kills Harrison and the ballerina, she does it with a double-barreled shotgun, which is, tech that's been out for many decades. It is a little bit unrealistic since she's the head of this large agency. She uses a rather unusual tech because by that time, semi-automatic weapons were quite common. But more to the point, as a head of an organization, she probably would have dispatched one of her minions out to do this work, unless she particularly liked getting her hands dirty killing people. That's a subtle implication in the story. It makes for an interesting scene, and I was here again as I read it several times, and I went, why is the head of the agency of the entire government doing this particular act? Well, maybe it's because she liked being that person who could take a double-barreled shotgun and shoot somebody just because they wanted to dance. So those are some of the context, background things where yes, it could certainly there's no reason technically why it couldn't happen. Good question. Other questions? We have, I think, okay, we are getting close to the time we have to get out of here anyway. So let me just conclude by echoing what John has just said. You can find more about the awards and the society on the website. There are a couple of Facebook groups. And there are other people who affiliated with the organization who have their own blog, and will so you can look at these things up online. I do recommend if you do read are interested in the Harrison Bergeron story, read the story first, then watch the videos. It works a lot better in that order. So I think we're getting close to the time, and I did promise that we'd be out here a little early so the next group would get in. So thank you very much.
The awards are both sitting here, so if anybody wants to make a photo of them.
Yeah.